let's dive back into the logic of the rentals. Eventually, once we add all the status updates, it'll be basically a timestamp and calendar of, well, managing everything and then we'll add the dashboards, which will be basically, people are focusing on passive income, which I guess really everyone should, or some combination therein. Then we can basically distribute like the products and services, which I see as a spectrum between renting a physical item out or kind of renting out your time, or they're just exchanging a physical item. So like with services, you could teach people, and that could grow exponentially, because you could teach one person for 20 an hour and then teach 10 people for 20 an hour, or teach a class, or teach 10 people for 100 an hour. And so your hourly can go up, whereas the rental prices effectively go down over time, but your assets and maybe the value of the assets can go up. But again, it's passive. So the goal for everyone on Earth is to have a financial just planner, basically, with everything that you can contribute physically and intellectually, and then be able to just measure your time versus energy versus investments, assets, all that. So on the rental side, we definitely need to group the rentals by status, or at least the ones that are like available. But for now, we're going to go back into like the power saw, and then and I guess if that's an interesting thing. So you would want to update the status, like if it's been accepted or delivering, it would be out of commission. Or if there is a rental order that is for that day, then it's unavailable. Unless you wanted to like rent it by the hour, which is really interesting. Because for sure, like if you just agree that every day at noon you just kind of transact and drop things off, that's simpler. But eventually you might want to have a higher resolution with what you're selling. Like you could do it a couple times a day. Like someone wants to just rent my vacuum cleaner for an hour, then I could just drop it off. They go, all right, I'm vacuuming it too. And then I drop it off. I use it for $1 an hour or something, or $3 an hour. But if it's like a badass vacuum cleaner, then that's probably worth it, and therefore I don't have to use it ever. And if I go, oh man, I need a vacuum again, then I'll have to rent it out. So the reservations for this one, the power saw, I am viewing as Federico, and I can look at this rental, and if I'm viewing as me, I should have a button that says mark as, so let's add a button, mark as accepted. Because we also probably want a current status of, well, if it is not accepted, you need like a chain, like a logic chain of when are particular actions available, because you have to kind of lead them through certain steps. Which is kind of the whole idea behind apps. It's more than a spreadsheet, because the spreadsheet doesn't really track the changes as much, or certainly when or where, or like the logic behind what cells can be edited. So what does this button do? Let's put the button up here because it's going to be above just the basic information. I want to put that into a 3-column container, but for now we're going to say, all right, what are the actions that this thing will do? Mark accepted is a rental order possible action, and we could say mark accepted and whatever, like a check mark. of the action, edit condition. Add a condition. So it's really interesting how Glide combines all the logic between the back end file structures and also the front end visual logic. And I love how, because of that, it's so conjoined that you have things like the query column really super powerful because you're kind of automating both multiple columns for particular logic, like if then else, and then also the front end logic of when do you show a particular widget based off of conditions. And so every item that exists in the app has that full back to front connection. And so Glide is kind of, I believe, in the final stretches of the whole development concept between like user interaction and just of folding or like merging or consolidating the that whole chain. And now I think, again, with the query column, it's like we're past the point of no return, or we're through the looking glass. So mark accepted, edit action, no. Allow action will say a basic thing like when the parent author ID is, so when the rental item is basically owned by me, then I can show that. And we'll have to also, okay, so then up in the fields, let's verify that the status is being changed, but we can view the status as a string in the fields. And, oh shit. What was that before? Timestamp, relative. Yeah, let's add a new one. Oh, cool, they saved that. Wow, that's really cool. Good on you, Glide. Good on you. So let's make sure that the status is there. And now that this is getting kind of annoying with all these folders, because it's going to be delivered. Before it was like checking the author ID, or rather the user ID for that, but I'm going to go ahead just to simplify selecting all these things. I'll just create like status. Can I do this? What does this do? I'll just make it a thing. Yeah. Or accepted when. Just remove that. And do the same for delivering when, delivered when, etc. Okie dokie. So coming back into layout, mark accepted, string, or what is this? We want the status. Call that status, and then we will add certain supply chain logic. Accepted when, yeah, this is cool. Might as well start with the simplest to begin with. Delivering when, and then, so right now there are no field values for each of these, and therefore they're not going to show, but theoretically if I mark accepted, we've now created values for accepted when and the status accepted. Very cool. So I don't know, let's just create, I keep saying let's create a new just screen from data. We'll say rental orders. So this is the beginning of that. And what do we want? Well, we want probably the rental order of, oh yeah, the parent name should be there at least. Maybe we want an author name, And image should be the parent image, naturally. And the title should be the parent name. We don't have that, so let's quickly create that. Rental orders, parent image, parent name, lookup column, parent ref main name, and that goes into there. Therefore, we can jump back into the layout and add the title should be the parent name. What are we doing? Meta is the author name. That's good. The description should be the whatever author name, I suppose. Well, really, I should create like a title, like a conjoined title template for like all those pieces, and then so I can add more info into these cards, but whatever. So if I were to go into this, it's the same view because it's like the detail view, which again I think Glide like figured out really well. The main interfaces, like the forms to get into the views, are customizable, but the detail view of the item itself is uniform or universal. Alright, so mark accepted. Now we have an obvious piece where I shouldn't be able to mark it accepted twice, so we're going to add a condition. Where the let's say status is not accepted. So now no one can update the status, but we can view that. Now we also want to be able to view the parent rental item. Oh, we'll just rental items. What is this? What on earth is this? Oh, the title. Yep, the title. This is also very cool. The title should be... Oh, yeah. Okay, well, let's go. This is a good opportunity to go into the rental orders. And then I'm going to create a new column. We'll say title template. And then make sure that's a template. And then say, let's call it parent rental order by author when. Okay, so the parent is going to be the parent name. So that'll be the parent name, and the rental order would just be text. I'm going to say by author. And the author is going to be the author name, and then when will be timestamp. I don't know, maybe relative. It's a little bit better. And let's see what that looks like. So title template. Let's move that up to the front. I think, yeah, we just... Well, this is very confusing. Is there other... Wait, row IDs. Oh, wow, you can actually replace row IDs? Like, that's not the key column? Interesting. I have no idea why you'd want that, but... Okay, now we're going back into the layout to change the navigation title into the title template, and so instead of this thing, it shows that. Maybe this title should now be the title template. No, that's sort of annoying to have both, but... Alright, accepted. So if I want to go into the rental orders, well, let's see, rental orders, wallet, events. once chimed. Yeah, and the fact that all of this logic will have to conjoin or combine into the wallet, which maybe should just be like the bank account value, is really interesting because for sure you shouldn't get the money until you have a successful rental. Like, if I get $10 for saying that I'll rent something out and someone orders it, then I don't really care. Like, I don't want to screw over my neighbor, but I don't really care about full delivery. Whereas if I only get the money after the person like successfully rents it and then returns it and then says this was good, that's really interesting. Actually, I never thought about that. You can hold both parties accountable for the successful transfer. So it's kind of like the app putting pressure on the people, going, until you both fill out all this information that the whole thing was transacted and received and delivered and good condition returned, then you can both get it. So if I'm renting an item out, I rent it, everything, they return it, and the person says everything was great, then I get that money. It's interesting. It's like you only get paid when a product is received and reviewed positively, which kind of makes sense. Like, if you go into Amazon, it's like, oh, hey, I had an issue with this, then you have to go through the return flow, whereas really it should just be, until you say this is a positive thing, you don't get the money. The seller doesn't get the money, which you would think is unfair to the sellers, but if everyone is a buyer and seller, because everyone wants to rent stuff out, then we're all beholden to a, yeah, that's really cool. Okay. So, rental orders, maybe you want to change this into, I don't know, maybe Legacy has a bit more rental order. They have something like, purchase. I freaking love this embedded icon thing. I spent so much time back in the day mulling through icons. Rental order, some kind of clock thing. Doesn't really matter. Rental order. Yeah, that looks good. That's kind of cool. Alright. Rental orders. Yeah, that's actually really cool. You know what? Alright. So, let's just make sure that we have the basic, can't add or edit, and we'll go from there. So, let's do more logic here. So, this has been, we probably want emojis for status icon as well, which is just another example of, like, it seems like a basic logic flow, but there's actually just a lot involved when you want to do it right. Rented by, okay, so if the status is accepted, then we want to be able to mark it as delivering. I guess that would be the next step, maybe like processing or, I don't know, prepared. Which, again, with code you can copy and paste it, but to be able to just go duplicate is pretty bananas when you need to do 100 of them. Alright, copy of mark, let's say mark delivering rental orders. If row is parent author ID, set column values in this status string delivering. Probably also want to send like a push notification or something, but we can get to there. So accepted when, we won't. It's a little slightly confusing of custom means null, but yeah. Minutia. Delivering when, timestamp, delivering when, current date time. Delivering when. okay. Current date, time, delivering. Done. Show the notification. We'll say delivering, and then it'll say marked delivering, and we're done. And while we're at it, let's do the others. Wow, storm's coming. Good Lord. It's like the combination of the economy, the Canadian fires, nature, people. It just feels like the apocalypse, you know? So, copy, where am I doing? Mark delivered, copy of Mark delivering. We'll say Mark. It's funny if you're like during the apocalypse, you're like app developing, but at the same time, something like this is if you had an actual mechanism for people to transfer wealth easily and maintain financial stability just within their own neighborhood, you don't need federal payouts. So if the dollar crashes, you don't care. Where are we with this? Mark delivered, mark complete, mark... Oh, can I move these around? Alright, mark delivered. We'll say... Oh, and when you mark delivered, now we do need images and such. So that was with the folders, so I'll have to go back to that. But delivered... Delivering when will be null. We don't need to clear the value, certainly, because these records will be basically the chain of custody proof, because when issues arise, accepting when delivered when, then everyone will refer to this. So, current date time, marked, delivered, but that should be, there's got to be something like until you create a image, so maybe there'll be actually separate sub rows of like a certain model of like each status update. I don't know. I guess it'll all just evolve. So just as another example, we can do a button block and we can duplicate that. So this one will be mark accepted, and this one will be mark delivering, and this one will be obviously mark delivering instead of mark accepted, and the allow action when you're the author, and the status string this will say is accepted. Okay, so now it is accepted, and the value of this will be delivering. Alright, you mark that, and we can set that up, and then we have to update the logic for the parent child, or the parent action. Alright.